Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Leo energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Leo energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy. We've all got our dualistic nature, and like with all the other zodiac sign traits and characteristics, we can harness our Leo energy in a more high vibe way, or we got some lessons learned in that area and we could harness it in a more shadowy way. And I suppose high vibe Leo would be that you learn some lessons in life to get comfortable within yourself, to high vibe, kind of more motivated and inspired by love, and to treat other people the way you like to be treated, being authentic. When we haven't kind of learned those lessons, we can be more influenced by our fear and our insecurity and our pride and our ego. And more shadowy energy could be where people try to present themselves as more high vibe, like just and fair and being authentic and loving, but they might be more driven by their lust or their greed or codependency or something, right? And also, shadowy energy can be where people kind of think they should be the center of attention. Leo can be about shining brightly in the world, and some people think they should be the center of attention. So, anyway, this might be something that's going on with people. That people who are Leo sun sign or have significant Leo placements might more deal with impactfully, but we all tap into Leo energy. And then if you harness high vibe Leo, you would want to be in other people. It's kind of like kind of the different lessons you've learned in life, wherever you are on having learned lessons in life, you're kind of going to probably want to hang out with some people who've learned those same lessons and tempered their more immature worldly nature, whatever that is, being lazy, being prideful, being egotistical, being bossy or controlling or manipulative. You're going to probably want to hang out with people who are on the same page. So, the top row could represent what we would like to do and what some people are doing. We have to make these decisions in our life and our free will. We could all want to move forward in life a little differently, a little more hopeful or believing. We might have some people in our life we want to have come with us, but maybe they got some fears and insecurities about maybe moving forward differently. Some people are debating within themselves right now, and the bottom row can kind of represent our comfort zone. It's kind of hard to step out of our comfort zone. Got to face our fears to do things a little different, and then we can kind of get in our fear and our ego about it. So let's go see what's going on in the bottom row that to different degrees could affect all of us. The reason for the reading for the bottom row is the Chariot card, which can be we'd all like to move forward. We'd maybe all like to feel more emotionally balanced, is what the Chariot can talk about. The Chariot is also Cancer energy. We can all want to be in more loving and supportive and balanced relationships. But then in the Seven of Pentacles, we have to decide, are we willing to be that type of person? And are we emotionally balanced? And, in high vibe, the Seven of Pentacles and Taurus energy, you know, I can keep moving forward the way I am, and I can keep doing what I'm doing. But if I want to do things differently in my fire sign energy of myself, I'd have to be inspired to want to do things differently. And then I would have to take action to reconcile myself with some issues of the past. So, and the past can just be patterns. If I want to do my life differently, and if I see that there's some pattern of way of interacting in the world or things that I'm inspired by that I could love, that I invest my time, energy, and effort into, but maybe those things keep me repeating an old pattern, and until I might get tired of that pattern. It could be things I indulge in, my time, my energy, my effort. It could be people I hang out with, it could be a job. I'm going to keep doing it so long as, if it's working out. Sometimes we might would kind of like things to move forward a little differently in a job, a friendship, a relationship. But so long as what we are, you know, we can be patient, we can be loving and encouraging, so long as things are going okay. And some people are at that stage in their life. They're not feeling a need to move forward in life any differently. Other people could be like, no, I'm really ready to do things differently. And a more shadowy way this could be interpreted is that it can all look victorious and successful. That's kind of what the chariot can talk about. Things look like you're moving forward victorious and successfully, but like we could have a job. That seems to be victorious and successful in some ways, but do we like our job? Are we excited to go to our job? What about the people that we work with? Are they ever interested in ever kind of doing things any differently? And maybe we could see that, more shadowy energy could be that it seems like nothing ever changes. And, it's going to keep being this like forever. And sometimes some people are offering love and encouragement to some people, and the other people are like, no, we're good. We're going to keep doing this. And if that's an employer, the employer might be looking to see who seems to be the people that are just okay doing that. And I'm trying to get them to move forward to kind of put to rest some of these old ways of doing things because I want things to be done a little different, for example, to have a new beginning. And then some people could be thinking about, some people could have been put in work and effort to get more emotionally balanced, feel more stable and grounded within themselves, and then maybe when they're feel like they have that, then the next part is to maybe then they'd be willing to get in a relationship, and some people it's like I don't want the Six of Cups could be about in high vibe, it would be wanting to be in a more committed or deep, meaningful relationship. Some people are like, no, I'm going to focus on this first, or I'm going to school, or whatever it is that they're investing in that they could think is part of the dream of being able to move forward, you know? And part of that, though, is just, doing this work within ourselves to love ourselves, get more emotionally balanced within ourselves, putting in work and effort into whatever and however we're living our life. But that can be just a phase, a part of our life, just like we were like 18 to 21 going to college. And then we wanted to move to the next phase of life. And just like we could have been, for example, 18 to 21, and we were hanging out with certain people, whether you were in college or not, some of those people want to keep kind of living their life like that for a lot longer than you do. And you're like, well, aren't we ever going to get done with this phase of life? Aren't we going to kind of move on to other things? And, it kind of can depend on how you envision your future. And some people are like, hey, man, I like doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. And then in a more shadowy kind of Six of Cups can be where they keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And they maybe don't have an interest in moving forward in life any differently. And, it's to consider the how we want to live our life, what our dreams and aspirations are, what other people's dreams and aspirations are. And, we can all know people who are more content, and that's fine. Different strokes for different folks. Everybody's got the free will to live their life the way they want it, manifest what they want, what makes them feel stable, secure, and what they love, and what can be perfect for one person. Other people are like, oh my God, I can't keep doing this forever. Aren't we ever going to move forward and do anything different? And they're like, why would we do that? And so sometimes that could be a problem. Anyway, let's go look. We have the Two of Cups, the King of Pentacles, the Emperor. Then we have the Ten of Swords, the Nine of Cups, the Two of Pentacles, and the Page of Swords. Well, a more shadowy Leo energy could be where people are more about themselves or more caught up and inspired by. That's like fire sign energy, what they're inspired by. I'm more inspired to get a job or get in a relationship, and I'm good. You know, the Ten of Swords can be closing a cycle. I have no interest in closing a cycle. And again, some people are in jobs and friendships and relationships that they like. They have no interest in ending them. And if other people, you know, could view those people maybe like, I would like to be in a relationship or a friendship with you, or I'd like to be in that job. And they're like, no, I'm in a friendship or relationship, or I'm got someone in this job. We're good, you know? But a more shadowy way to read it can be that, some people are fine, you know, I want to be in a friendship or relationship. And for some, that's it. Um, or some people could be like, if I get a job and I'm in a relationship, possibly get married because the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles is only married through the deck, I'm good. If it's kind of that thing where you hear about people like, oh, I want to get married. And it's like they so badly want to get married. Or, oh my gosh, I want a boyfriend or I want a girlfriend. And they get in these relationships. Well, what were you thinking how that was going to go after that? It's like, well, I don't know. I don't care. I just want to be married. It's like, well, how do you think things are going to play out? How are you envisioning it? I don't know. I don't care. I just want to be married. That would be a more shadowy energy of more codependency, or I just want to be in a relationship. You know, I don't want to do anything differently, but it can be, um, some people, the masculine cards, whether people are male or female, the masculine cards can represent how people present themselves in the world. And some people look very stable, grounded, maybe victorious, successful, attractive, or whatever. Other people could view them as people, and they could have skill, resources, education, or something that other people would want to be in relationship with them or hire them. And some of those people, shadowy Leo, can be a little prideful and egotistical. I do think people should want to hire me or be in a relationship with me. And then if people come to get in a relationship with them, it can be a little bit more their way. If you are going to work together with other people, the one pentacle can be what people's dreams and their motivations and their truth and what they think is just and fair. And some people think, it's more about me. And I think this is just and fair. And if you want to be in a relationship with me, you should think this is just and fair. And I don't want to do things any differently. After the Ten of Swords would be the Ace of Swords of maybe putting, kind of seeing that things could benefit if we kind of work together. I have my dreams and aspirations, and you have yours, and then together we work cooperatively to give birth to something new. That would be like the Ace of Swords. Something new that didn't exist before. And some people are like, no, I don't want to do something new. I want to do this. And if you want to be in a relationship with me, we're going to do that. So it is kind of tipped out of balance. It's kind of more about what they want. And other people, it's just more about the ego, the image, the status, or indulgence, or them. And they're looking for someone else who's on that same page, makes those same things, like the status or the ego and the image or the indulgence, or being more about someone else and making your life all about them, is what they're looking for. The whole thing is we got some lessons to learn in life, and kind of what we could think is just and fair when we're younger, and kind of, you know, our own not having hope and faith and belief in our dreams, or loving ourselves even, maybe living more from our mind than our heart. This makes logical, practical sense. I should do this. The only problem is, eventually, during the course of a relationship, just making your life about someone else, or about these things you indulge in, or about the status or the ego or the image, or being all about yourself, um, you know, nothing changes, you know? And other people who could be in friendship or relationship with some of those people, they might love those people, like those people, but they'd kind of like, is anything ever going to change here? shadowy energy can be that it's kind of imbalanced. And sometimes people want to be in a relationship with people. Like the King of Pentacles is like the common truth. We want to be in a relationship, but one person, the Two of Cups, is also Cancer energy, kind of in their free will of their Gemini nature, which is about our free will. Those people are more motivated by love. The other person can be more motivated to be in a relationship, to enjoy a relationship. It's good for their ego and image, male or female, but it's kind of more indulging themselves in the relationship. Like, I don't want to become independent of maybe my more self protective nature and do love. And in my free will, I decided to kind of be more about me and my more self protective nature. I don't want to get hurt, so then shadowy energy can be, and shadowy emperor can be that they're kind of controlling. So if I can control everything, then nothing will happen. Well, and sometimes we get in relationships with people like that. We don't know. We might have known, but maybe we didn't listen to our intuition. And we got relationships with people who we could have seen they were more about themselves, or they were more, really kind of more caught up in the world. A more shadowy Taurus energy can be where it is more about conforming to the world. We should do this, and we should act like this, and we should attend these functions, not these functions, act this way, dress this way, not hang out with these people, hang out with these people. It's really important to look like we have a certain status and image in the world, because thinking other people will view us highly, hold us in high esteem, want to be in friendship or relationship with us. But there it can be more about conforming to the world, where they're not really inspired to live their more authentic life, which is high vibe Leo energy. So that can be kind of caught up in the illusion of the world, and not willing in the Nine of Cups to be more independent in the world. High vibe energy is about being more independent. I have my truth, everyone else has their truth. High vibe energy, I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I just want to live my more authentic life. And if everybody in the world that I know is like one of the cows in the herd, and everybody's doing this and not doing that, and wearing this and not wearing that, and frowning on people who talk to these people or those people, at extremes. It's just like, oh my God, it's so conformist. Does, you know, I'm not, how much do I let the world and my ego and my fear and other people manipulate me? Shadowy energy. When am I going to live my authentic truth and live my authentic life and listen to my own intuition? It's like, you all might like to go do that, and you all might like to dress that way or act that way or whatever. I think it's kind of limiting me. I think there's a whole bunch of people in the world that are different than me that I could learn all sorts of things from, and really help me expand my perception of myself and the world around me, and maybe what I believe is possible, versus staying in a very isolated group. But some people like a very isolated group, or they also like a very isolated way of viewing life. And they don't like it when people view life differently, maybe from a higher perspective, instead of making their life more about these things of the world and being consumed by these things of the world and who's in and who's out. And some people couldn't take it. And if they were in a job or a friendship or relationship where someone was more, they felt they were more in it for the status, the ego, the image, felt like it looked like love, but it wasn't really love. Everybody could have kind of enjoyed the relationship, but feeling like, I don't think it's love that drives and motivates you. And I might have found out you have a lot of things that manipulate you, and you're not very independent. And you're maybe not very balanced. And you could be kind of more about yourself or more bossy and controlling. And when I could, and this could even be kind of like even when we grow up, right? We have our parents and, they're trying to kind of keep us in the bumper guards of life to not completely drive our life off into the ditch. But then there can come a time, and some people kind of learned some of those lessons at a young age, right? And they kind of went on their own and became more independent. And they kind of learned to, in the Two of Pentacles, kind of maintain balance within themselves. Like, I can still enjoy these people and my family and my friend groups, different friend groups I've had throughout my life or whatever. But I'm starting to get a little more clear, maybe in the Page of Swords, about my own truth and feeling more independent within myself instead of being more codependent. And believe me, I know some people who are middle aged on that they're still not more independent, and they still have friend group or original family members that if those people in their life tell them, well, you kind of went over here and you were doing this, but I don't know if I like that because you're kind of becoming more independent and we like to control and manipulate you, and we think you should stop that. Well, then those people are like, oh, okay, sorry, whoever it was I was kind of moving forward with, and I kind of, shadowy energy can be, I'm not really being authentic. I try to present myself as more independent, less defensive, less codependent on my ego or my fear or other people in my life, but I'm really not. And oh, if those people tell me that they don't want me to move forward, oh, I'm not going to move forward then. I'm going to turn my back on you. Oh, I know. We could have even got married. We could have even had children, but if the people in my life that are the primary foundation of my life, I created the illusion you were going to be the primary foundation, but no, those people told me I need to get back here. So, done indulging in an illusion with someone, and I'm going to go back and defer to my fear being more about me or my ego or the world or other people in my life. Another story that I see here that some people could have experienced, and we're emotionally complex people. Why do we do what we do? It can be a real mix of a lot of things. Some people could have been in a relationship, but you know, have we tempered our more egoic nature? There's things I'd like to go indulge in. I'd like to kind of maybe see if I can pick up my investment in this, kind of juggle you, because I want to indulge my more immature nature. And maybe there's something I would think would be like something, maybe it would make me feel like I was victorious or successful in some way, right? And so I want to go do that. So I'm going to kind of do, it's kind of like people in a relationship, like testing people's boundaries. I don't think high vibe people try to test people's boundaries because I don't think they have any interest in doing it. But people who kind of want, like, how much can I get away with? Can I go do this? Is that okay? What about then if I do this? It's kind of like inching further and further away to kind of be a little bit more maybe about themselves, maybe repeating some poor past patterns. Like, how much can I get away with before you kind of put the hammer down, right? And some people, and it could be done really slowly and gradually over time. So, and maybe it could maybe kind of progressively get worse from the Two of Pentacles to the Seven of Pentacles. And sometimes part of that whole experience, because we could love someone, we might not really want to put the hammer down, and we're kind of just seeing how things go. And, but eventually people might. And the whole thing might have been this process of like, what the hell is going on? And to stand up for yourself. And sometimes we could have had friendships or relationships with people. And again, maybe because the Two of Pentacles can talk about picking up our investment in something and kind of getting balanced within ourselves to kind of distance ourselves from those people, because from the 2 to the 7 is the 5 of Pentacles, which is moving forward and like away. And the Chariot can be that too. And we can go have many different cycles of that. I think I did look it up. There is that phrase, there's no new thing under the sun. And I looked it up, I think, to see if it was in the Bible, and it was. But, we kind of go through these lessons, the same kind of shit we can go through in life and in relationships, because there's more high vibe people, more shadowy people in the world at any stage of our life. When we were in elementary, junior high, high school, college, after high school, you go out in the world, in a world of duality where people have free will, there's going to be people who are more shadowy and people who are more just and fair, emotionally mature, tempered in their ego nature, loving, warm, kind, people who aren't. So it's kind of like we keep repeating these patterns just at different stages of life. And as we kind of learn, kind of get more experience, you know, the more we might get better at picking up our investment in people that we kind of see are a little bit like, if you experience some shadowy people in elementary, well, then when you go to junior high, I really don't want to get caught up in people who are like that. And then when you see it, where it's more obvious, you might keep your distance from them. But we always can have it come up in, because you can move forward with people, and then people are kind of testing these boundaries of like, and that's when you kind of end up finding out they're a little more shadowy, and with all of them, it can be hard to end it. But, hopefully as we get older and we're going out in the world, as soon as we kind of see, it's like, I got my own people in my life that are kind of already shadowy that, you know, I kind of got to deal with, or my neighbor, or coworker, or people in my family, whatever. I don't want to bring more people in that are a little more shadowy. Like now, as soon as I see people who are more shadowy and they show me right away, like, oh, you're very difficult to work with. Oh, you're kind of bossy. Oh, you know, uh, and the Two of Pentacles and the Page of Swords can be people who juggle the truth. Uh, a little more stubborn and shadowy Taurus, a little more bossy, controlling, or immature, or full of themselves and fire sign energy. It's like the more experience you have, and also maybe before we maybe weren't listening to our more balanced, intuitive inner child nature or intuition, and we thought we were so smart. Like, oh no, I'm sure this will work out just fine. Oh, I know, I saw that. I see that they're like this and they're like that, but I'm sure it'll work because I'm going to be a loving and encouraging and supportive person, and I'm sure, you know, they'll quit acting like that. And, we had to learn those lessons. And then as we learn those lessons, we learn to maintain better balance within ourselves, hopefully have survived some painful experiences in our life, that though there might be things and people in the world that we would like to go indulge in, or even just be friends with and like things to be more balanced, we've learned that, everybody kind of has to be in that energy in order for it to work out. And if the other people aren't about that, I accept the truth of it, like right away when they show me that. I'm not picking up any more people that are kind of shadowy that I got to keep dealing with in my life. So it's like, I'm going to keep my distance. You already showed me that you might be kind of shadowy in some way. Um, and if I've had some people in my life who have shown me that, um, I think they are more kind of immature in their thinking, logic, and reasoning, that they do like to juggle the truth, that they are a little more caught up in the illusion of themselves or the world. I'm going to let them move on and repeat that pattern and have new beginnings with other people and invest in other people. I don't want to go down that path. And then I'm going to close out this cycle. I'm going to be loving and encouraging to myself to be more independent as they keep moving forward. I'm going to get more balance within myself, love myself, and I'm going to move forward in my own way. And hopefully, work through whatever it was that could have, and see the truth. That's high vibe. Ten of Swords, completing a cycle, seeing the truth. What is it that made me get into it to begin with? What is it that made me stay in it? Because there's always going to be the next group of shadowy people in the world at the next stage of life I go into. And I don't want to repeat that pattern. So I need to see the truth of what I wasn't seeing about people. And it could have been, I could have been more naive. Well, I don't want to give up my more hopeful believing nature, my own Page of Swords. But I also need to take the lessons that I've learned and take that lesson I've learned and be inspired out of love for myself, that I don't want to repeat that same pattern. So, though I could be drawn and attracted to people, um, like, we can view people in the world and they seem to have a lot of things about them that we could be drawn and attracted to. The Ten of Swords, the swords could be about communication. I'm going to get to know someone and, try to figure out in their Gemini nature of themselves what their truth more is. Are they more about themselves for the world, or indulgence, or ego, or image, to the extent where that is kind of the driving factor in their life? Shadowy Six of Cups. I've already been in relationships with people like that, and it's kind of more emotionally shallow and superficial. And in high vibe Scorpio and high vibe Gemini, and in my truth of my Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius energy, I think it's about being balanced within yourself. I want some of those things in the world too, just like those people do. I want to have stability and security and enjoy the finer things in life. I would like people to be in friendship and relationship with me, but I'm not willing to sacrifice more of a balanced life, that it also has to be based on truth and love and justice and fairness and acting with character and integrity and being inspired by love. But the other people might be willing to sacrifice that because it's either more important to have a certain status or image, look a certain way. That's, in their Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius energy within themselves. I think this is what's most important. Either that it's more about me, or it's more about the ego and the image and the status and looking like a shining star in the world, um, is more important. And we could just feel those are people who haven't been enlightened to the truth. And so then, even though we could be attracted, some of those people we kind of keep our distance from because, I want someone from Cancer energy being balanced. The opposite, I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn and the Chariot as Cancer, and those are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel. And it's about getting balance between the two. Yes, in my worldly nature of what I view as victorious and successful, I want these things of the world too. But, and the opposite sign of Leo is Aquarius energy. I want these things of the world just like other people want these things of the world. But it's getting balance between being too much about ourselves, these things of the world, and having a balanced life where it's also creative and inspired and authentic and loving. And some people, we go off on these journeys to learn lessons in life, and some people are still kind of more caught up in that. And I do think our fire sign energy can be the last one to get on board. Oh, I got an alarm on my phone. Um, because we are really motivated and inspired by a lot of these things of the world. And Even though in our heart, in our mind, in our worldly nature, there's things as like we could see the truth of it. I shouldn't do this kind of until we in our fire sign energy decide I'm more inspired by balance and it starts within me. I can't change anyone else. The only one I can change is me. And if I know this isn't my truth to stay in a job, a friendship, or relationship, more for the status, the ego, or the image because it's not balanced, and I don't maybe feel like I can be more independent and live my more authentic truth. And during the course of time, I maybe have gotten more clear about my truth, and other people might not like that I am more balanced within myself because maybe before I wasn't. And they could be like, well, you're more balanced now. I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I want to be in a relationship with people who are more unbalanced and make their life more of kind of indulging people, kind of going back and forth about the truth, letting me juggle them, let me be controlling of them, are more codependent, want to be in a relationship, hope for the best, don't listen to their intuition, and I'll start over with someone else. As for some of the people that are shadowy and they have no intention of becoming independent and getting more balanced, they keep kind of wanting to juggle the truth. I don't think I got to do love, or I don't think I have to be more just and fair. I don't think I need to look at life from a higher perspective. I think I can keep doing this. Some of those people right now might be experiencing either an ending with someone else again, or, you know, I think shadowy people like to be in a relationship with someone who isn't like them. If someone is more bossy, prideful, egotistical, immature, self indulgent, they don't want to be in a relationship with someone else like that. They would like to be in a relationship with a high vibe person that they created the illusion they were high vibe too, and they were hiding that they harness this energy in a shadowy way. I don't plan to get more balanced. I don't plan to become more independent of my ego nature, being more about me, being more about the world, or being more codependent on whoever I'm codependent on. But so long as you don't see the truth of it, and you keep thinking I'm like you, I'll keep moving forward juggling the truth. You'll maybe eventually see the truth, but then you might juggle leaving because you already invested in it. And of course, you'd like it to work out the way you want it to work out. And you kind of hope that maybe I'll change, but I'm not going to change. And as long as you keep juggling leaving, I'll keep staying in it until you do leave. Until you come to peace within yourself that I can't keep doing this anymore. Or I finally go too far, or I'm too, it's just too painful. I can't keep staying in a relationship hoping other people will change. I've got to see the truth. The truth will set me free. This is your truth. This isn't my truth. And I'm going to let you go live your life the way you want to go live it. And I'm going to go live my life the way I want to go live it. And I'm going to get out of my ego about it. Do I wish it could have worked out? Yeah, but it's not. And you don't seem to be willing to become independent of the way you are. And I have my truth, and I want to be in more deep, meaningful, and balanced, and loving, and maybe truthful relationships. And that might not be your truth. Now, if the shadowy people are in a relationship, there's always bigger fish out there. And sometimes the kind of immature players get played. If they get in relationships with more loving people or just or fair, those people are going to heal over time, work through their issues of how they self sabotage, don't want to keep staying in a relationship with people in the shadowy energy, and eventually those people move on. Some people right now that are kind of shadowy could think, oh my gosh, I have met my person. This person seems to, like me, present themselves like a high vibe person, and they might think they're in a relationship with a high vibe person. But there could be someone in the world who's like, you're just the kind of person I've been looking for. I too had been in relationships with people who were loving and encouraging and wanted a more deep, meaningful relationship. But I too, my philosophy of life in my Taurus nature and my Leo nature and my Capricorn and my air sign and my Pisces, I'm kind of more about me and these things of the world. And you might look victorious and successful and present yourself like a loving person in the world. And I like to work with people like you. I'm going to use the things that motivate and inspire you to manipulate you in return. This works for me. So I think eventually the people they end up aligning themselves with, because they won't work more cooperatively with the just, fair, authentic, loving people, because they won't get out of their defensive nature or their ego nature or their fear or their insecurities or whatever it is. And so the high vibe people move, and then there's other people that are like, hey, I'd be in a relationship with you. And it's kind of like, well, so you're not going to require me to get more balanced? Hell no. You're not going to make me grow up or mature myself? You know, and then they could get in a relationship and they think, oh my gosh, I have found the perfect person to indulge me in a relationship. And they are presenting themselves as an emotionally balanced, like high vibe, mature person like I do. Some of those people could get in a more invested relationship with someone. And that's when they could find out, shit, I got in a relationship with someone who's like myself. But they were hiding it. That they were kind of more about themselves and more about the status and the ego and the image. And the whole thing is, people can't hide the truth of who they are forever. But people can hide the truth of who they are. They're focused on the long-term goal. I want this to move forward, to maybe get married. And then, because shadowy energy can be, I'm going to hide the truth of who I am until I get you locked more into a relationship, or create this illusion about how wonderful it would be to work here until you start. And then once you get in it, slowly over time, those ways of being that they were initially start to fade away. And then it's kind of more, I have these patterns I like to repeat. But you want to keep staying in it, right? You want this job, you want to stay in this relationship. It looks victorious and successful in a lot of ways. And they could just be people who mutually try to manipulate and control each other, because those things of the world that are so important to them, and they have that. And because those things are so important, they're unwilling to get out of it, even though they might like to get out of it, even though they might not like the people they're in a relationship with, even though they could want to end the relationship and distance themselves from it. That's shadowy energy. All these things we make important in our life or we indulge in that become like an addiction. And the people who are more, well, this person, when we go out in public, though, everything seems fine. When we get home, I might have someone kind of like myself who kind of wants to juggle the truth, is kind of immature, wants to be indulged. And it's like taking turns indulging each other and kind of indulging each other, but kind of back and forth in order to maintain peace. Or it could be kind of a tit for tat type relationship where it's like, well, I did this, and then, well, no, I'm not going to do that for you because I did this for you last time, or it's just not freely giving of yourself and working together cooperatively. And that's why some people eventually don't want to be in it, because they kind of do have to exchange, resources with someone that is more like themselves. Or when they were in a relationship with loving people, those loving people appear in the Ten of Wands were carrying most of the load until the high vibe people realized, wait a minute, I am carrying most of the load. I'm the one putting in the work and effort to be loving and encouraging and supportive. I thought you were on that with me, but eventually, they kind of see that the other people seem to be more about themselves or the ego or the image or indulging themselves, and they're not really seem to be inspired to put in this work to make it more balanced. And the other person realizes, I'm the one putting in all the work to make this more balanced. Now they'll probably end up eventually, they'll probably end up in a relationship with people who they kind of have to try to maintain some type of balance because it does work. um, because they both know they don't want to be more authentic. They both know they're more about these things of the world. They're both kind of willing to work with each other because neither one maybe wants to get out of it. But the thing is, shadowy Seven of Pentacles is like, I'm kind of investing in it, but again, shadowy Scorpio and shadowy fire sign energy can be life's just about death, sex, and taxes. This works. This looks good. I'll have sex with you. And it's not really a deep, meaningful relationship. The opportunity for them to reconcile whatever it is within them that would make them stay in that opportunity is like a lost option in a way if they keep doing this. But because of some of these, whatever it is, well, this person does let me kind of be bossy and controlling. They indulge me in that way. I might indulge them in a different way. And so we can have different things that manipulate us, but for us, it works. Even though if they could get in a relationship with someone where it was just them kind of more being indulged and the other person didn't need to be indulged, that would be like the real dream. But when they had those opportunities, it required them to, the high vibe people required them to get more balanced, be more just and fair, come out from behind, quit these shadowy ways of being. And they thought, no, you can go, I'll go find someone else. So some high vibe people left those jobs, friendships, or relationships. They could have tried for a long time to get it to work. Eventually, I got to accept the truth. This isn't moving forward in the way I want. I could feel like I'm putting more of the work and effort. Um, if there's people I meet and they're in another relationship, okay, well, my dream isn't over. You could just, if they are high vibe, but it can kind of put us in shadowy energy because, damn, I wanted to be in a relationship with that person and it didn't work out. Well, I worked through the fact that that could have been something I thought I would enjoy, but I believe God's got a plan for my life, and if there is someone I want to be in a relationship with, but they're not investing in me, okay, whatever, I accept the truth of it and deal with the truth of it, and I get out of my ego about it, and I believe that God must have another plan. God knows the truth about what ultimately drives and motivates people. God knows your truth and what ultimately drives and motivates you. And, you know, and also some of those people, we might not really know exactly what drives and motivates them, but they do. And if you communicated your truth to people, they know what your truth is. And they're like, nope, I'm not doing that. Because I would have to quit juggling. I'd maybe have to speak the truth. I'd have to stand up to my own shadow nature and become independent. I'd have to become more independent of some other people in my life that I maybe need to become independent of. And I don't know if I really went and did what I really wanted to do. Like, even people could be offered a job that really seems to be aligned with their truth. But it's like, is that one going to have the status and the ego and the image and the money of this job? I would really like to do that. That would like be great. That was always like a childhood dream. But then I would have, that's the thing of Gemini energy and free will. You kind of got to sacrifice some things. And there's some things that some people in their more worldly, egoic nature aren't willing to give up. So they're going to keep investing in that. Other people were willing to give it up. And the reason for the top rose reading is the Fool card, which is kind of like Aries fire sign energy, Aquarius energy of I have a dream, and Pisces energy. You know, I am maybe more independent and do look at life from a higher perspective. And I do think there's more to being in a job, a friendship, or relationship than just being in a job, a friendship, and a relationship. You know, if I'm not allowed to be more independent and more authentically myself, and it is, which again, high vibe people, not trying to hurt anyone, I'm treating other people the way I like to be treated, willing to learn lessons in life. If I did something that I don't see is more shadowy, let me know, but trying to work together with people in a just and fair and authentic and loving way, but inspired to kind of keep growing and healing and maturing themselves, wanting to be with other people who want to do that, because the journey continues throughout our life. Don't like my fears or my insecurities manipulating me. And other people could keep letting those things manipulate them again, or other people. And other people are ready to go on this journey. They're listening to their intuition. Their intuition is telling them it is time to pick up your investment in this. We can go through a phase of life where it was great. And then it's time to move on from that phase of life again, just like age 18, 21 to 25. I don't want to do that all my life, but it was great when I was doing it. Do you want to move forward with me a little differently now and kind of face some of our fears and continue the journey? And some people are like, nope, I'm good. Okay. Well, I'm going to listen to my intuition, my inner child, and my more inspired, loving nature of self. I do want to do things a little differently and face my fears. So you went on this new journey. And then we start out with the Hierophant, the Nine of Pentacles, the Eight of Pentacles, the Ten of Pentacles, the Eight of Swords, again, Gemini energy, the Knight of Cups, and the Ten of Wands. So, some people, again, in the Emperor is Aries energy. Up here, the King of Wands and the Fool also have Aries energy. And Aries energy is about the self. And some people are much more about themselves, much more, like I said. And we can all, again, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty caught up in that. High vibe Taurus, unlike maybe this is a minor arcana and this is a major arcana card, kind of looking, and again, in high vibe Aquarius energy that's kind of implied here, is kind of looking at life from a higher perspective. I do think there's more to life than just making my life about me or these things of the world and deriving my sense of worth and value, which I could have great accolades because of it, right? But I think there's a higher purpose, and high vibe Taurus is about being like a spiritual leader in the world. And some people are all about themselves and they want to make their life all about themselves and they don't want to make their life about anyone else. um, and other people, we do learn these lessons in life, and maybe could even be inspired to have children and other people aren't. Other people kind of inspired to offer love and encouragement to others. The more shadowy a person can be, that can be jealousy and envy and kind of wanting all shadowy Leo be in the spotlight. Never want to really give other people their flowers and accolades. Why would I do that? You know, I want it to be more about me. It's like, well, because you can't do everything in the world. So, how about we be happy that the people who are nurses and teachers and bus drivers and people who work at the grocery store and the coffee shop and every other damn job in the world, that we appreciate that they do it well and that they're maybe nice and friendly and it's a pleasure to see them every day. It's all the parts of, even in a big business, it all makes it work. If you had some people that kind of boycotted in a certain area of your job, that some people are like, oh, well, those people, they're so unimportant. It's like, yeah, until they leave. And then shit starts to back up. And maybe literally. Um, they just don't get it. And some people, don't get it. So, high vibe Taurus is walking the talk, being who you authentically say you are. The shadowy people try to present themselves as being that type of person, but it's just more to get people, again, to get in a relationship with them. So they might look like a pillar of society, they might look like they do all the right things, but it's all a facade. Living more from their mind than their heart. A mental construct to present themselves a certain way. So look at me, and they're single. Doesn't people want to work together with me? Or look at those people. Those people really are who they say they are. Those people from the Nine of Pentacles down to the Eight of Pentacles kind of let go of investing in being more about themselves and harnessing that energy in a more shadowy way. They did the inner work to grow up and mature themselves, to work through their illusions, work through their more immature nature, work through their maybe more codependent nature. I want to put in work and effort to grow and mature myself. High vibe Virgo. These three cards are all Virgo energy, but people in their Virgo energy, we can all want to be in relationships, get married, be victorious and successful at work. The Virgo energy wants to become the Knight of Pentacles, but in a shadowy energy, it can be more for how it benefits you and for the status and the ego and the image of it. you know, Other people have grown and healed and matured themselves, and they want to be in it because they want to have a dream come into reality in the Pisces Knight of Cups. Down here, the other people are like, well, no, I'm not going to bring a dream into reality from love. That's not my truth. It's more to indulge in it and all the ways that I benefit from being in it. And the other people really are in their Gemini motivated by love. And so when those people see that the people they're in a friendship or relationship with are kind of in it more for how it benefits them or want to be indulged or whatever, it's like if it's not motivated and inspired by love, and love is supposed to be just and fair, out of love for myself, I'm going to pick up my sticks and I'm going to move on. And then some of the people who wanted to work together with them then are in a mental prison because those people aren't willing to work with them. Even if they did talk to them and get to know them, it's like, I don't think it's love that really more drives and motivates you. You definitely might want to be in the friendship or the relationship, but I think it's for some other reason. And I've learned to listen to my intuition and believe in myself, and I'm going to stay focused on truth and love and my intuition to guide me than more my lust and my greed and my pride and my ego and these things of the world that I want. Because I've already done that and it didn't work out the way I wanted. I got backstabbed. And so I have to walk my talk, my truth. Because I know if I go invest in someone where that's not their truth, they're already showing me that's their truth. And I invested in them knowing that was their truth. And before I might thought people would change or, that everybody was motivated and inspired by love, but they're not. I'm going to walk my talk. And, I guess if I'm going to go find other people who went through something like this who are also walking the talk, and they're not going to do that anymore either. And they're not that type of person. And those are the people. And as I move forward, when I quit investing my time, energy, and effort into the people who've already shown me that's not their truth, and I move forward in life and invest in what could be in closing out an old cycle, the tens can talk about closing out an old cycle or closing out certain people or ways of living life to go on this new journey, even though you're fearful. and afraid. That's facing your fears. And I offer love to myself, and I offer love to my fears. And I high vibe Leo. I give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me to keep being a loving and like being your own best mother, father, coach voice in your own head. And I'm going to keep moving forward, even though it can feel overwhelming at times. But I don't want to repeat that old pattern. I don't want to get back in friendships or relationships or workplaces that act like that. And if I find myself in them, I'm going to get out of them. Kind of pick up my investment and kind of distance myself or really distance myself. And eventually I'm going to find people that are more on the same page as me. When the way I kind of look at it, when we're in a job, a friendship, or relationship, if people start creating a little hell on earth, I think that's our intuition telling you there's something wrong here. This is kind of shadowy. People are trying to manipulate you or control you. They're not working together with you in a more just and fair way. And if we listen to our intuition, is trying to get us to see the truth of it and kind of follow the breadcrumbs and go look for a different job or friendship or relationship and get out of that one and go invest again, listening to our, not everything we go invest in works out the way we want. But when people show me they're not willing to work with me in a high vibe way, I'm not going to keep playing with them. If that wasn't who they were, they wouldn't do it. And if I'm not doing that, it's because that's not who I am. And I don't want to play these games. And I think as you go on that journey, other people are going to see you're doing that. They could know, well, I could go do this. Yep, you can. Go do it if you want. Or I could do that. It's like, yep, if you want. So you're not going to be more bossy and controlling and prideful and egotistical and petty and envious and jealous and in competitive energy and deceptive and manipulative. I have no interest in being that way. What's coming up for some people who, and some of you are already in job friendships and relationships like that, and it is just, whatever group dynamic it could be, kind of in the Ten of Pentacles between friends, family, neighborhood, workplaces. It's just kind of listening to your intuition of who's who and, seeing kind of the truth of it, kind of keeping your distance from the people who are a little more shadowy. You could be in a relationship or a marriage, and there's just other people around too, and kind of working through who do we want to more hang out with or not, and listening to your intuition as you go. But high vibe people have learned some of the lessons they were meant to learn because we'll keep repeating a pattern until we learn the lesson we were meant to learn, and then we get to go free to go to the next level of the video game of life to overcome new obstacles. Again, it's kind of like it's the same old things kind of that we deal with, but have we learned the lesson? How quickly do we learn the lesson? How much do we get in our ego about it? Do we get less in our ego about than we did last time? So that we can keep just flowing with the universe. Yep, I saw that. Yep. But when the less experience we have, the more it can make us feel backstabbed and betrayed. It's like, nope, I'm going to pick myself back up. Thank you for the lesson I learned, and I'm on my way. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Leo energy that they might not see coming? Okay, we got a card not showing itself, which, oh, that's funny. The Queen of Wands and the Queen of Wands. So, kind of like in your dualistic nature, you got out of your more worldly egoic nature of Leo, and you're operating from your more high vibrational Leo nature, and that's a feminine figure, so it means emotionally, whether you're male or female. Why? Because of the Emperor. You stood up for yourself, and the Emperor is about making decisions in your life, and you decided, I'm not going to keep investing in people or things or stay focused on, like waiting maybe for other people to invest in me. If they're not investing in me, okay, wish you peace. I'm moving on. I see the truth. You're not, if I have, you know, the pentacle can be about bringing things into the 3D world. The wands can be about communicating. You could have communicated with a lot of different people in your life, brothers, sisters, if you got children, your adult children, if you're in a relationship, people you're in a relationship with, work people, your community. We're kind of communicating to people all the time, kind of in a way, what our truth is, just by how we conduct ourselves, right? But you could have communicated to some people that you've reconciled yourself with some issues from the past, you learned some lessons. You're not living your life that way, don't want to live your life a certain way, have gotten out of certain jobs, friendships, relationships. You're moving forward in a new beginning. Who wants to move forward with me in this new beginning? And there's always going to be any of those people like, you go. No, I don't want to go live my life any differently. Um, I'm okay doing this. Like, okay, and so then you move forward and you kind of, again, from the 9 down to the 8, you're not going to keep making offers to those people. They've kind of shown you their truth. So then you take back from the 8 to the 10, you take back the 2 of Pentacles. No more juggling and going back and forth about it. And then you listen to your intuition, you offer love to yourself to close out that cycle and accept the truth and go have this new beginning. Again, whoever is in your life and in relationship with, there could be other people that together, you and your friendship group, you and your work colleagues, you and anybody you're in a relationship with, there's some people that you could have invited to kind of move forward with you, whoever they are, in whatever way. And some of those people are like, nope, you would require me to maybe speak my truth. You would require me to be more emotionally balanced. You would require me to quit being more about myself or bossy or controlling or repeating old patterns. Or the only reason I want to hang out with you is more for the status or the ego or the image. And some other people are like, you don't really kind of invest to have a more deep, meaningful relationship. So, we'll let you go present yourself to some other people. Anyway, you made the decision to do this work within yourself, to work through and move forward. And what some people could see you moving forward, and shadowy people have their viewpoint in life, which in shadowy energy can be, it's more about, in shadowy Pisces, trying to create this illusion about the type of person they are, juggling the truth, because they did not do this work within themselves to work through some of their fears and insecurities and things that manipulate them and overwhelm them. And they can see you moving forward, and some of those people are just thinking, you're just putting on an illusion. You're not who you say you are. You didn't really pick up your investment in them or this old way of living life. You're just creating an illusion of that. And that's what they don't get. It's like, I'm not the same person I was before. Whatever it was that kind of drove and motivated me before, and things or people that I could have been more drawn and attracted to for whatever reasons, I'm not anymore. And some of those people might not see it yet, but as time keeps going by and you keep moving forward on this new beginning that you're having, that's when some of them might start to be like, what? I thought if I kept acting like this, you were going to come and get in a relationship with me and kind of do it the way I wanted. And then they're going to see, shit, you're harnessing this energy in a high vibe way. And yes, you have no intention of trying to want to balance things out with them and work together with them again. And they're like, well, shit, you know? And then sometimes those people were kind of getting in friendships or relationships with other people just to try to hurt you. Thinking again, you wouldn't love and believe in yourself and that you'd kind of maybe keep pursuing them. And if you showed that you were back in shadowy energy sufficiently, they would get back in a relationship with you. And it's like, or keep you as an option that they juggle. And it's like, you can go juggle other people. I'm done. And eventually, and some of them now could be starting to get the clue. Well, shit, they're not coming back. So then they got to go, then they got to decide, well, shit, the people I have been maybe using to try to hurt you, to stop you from moving forward, or the people in my life I've been hanging out with and aligning with, maybe just to hurt you. Well, shit, I don't even know. Should I get out of that relationship? But then it's kind of hard because they did create an illusion of, that this was maybe their dream come true and how much I love that person or love those people. But those people could be bossy and controlling and superficial and shallow. And then they have to decide, are they going to keep maintaining the illusion of what they're in? Or are they going to get out of it and go try to just find someone else maybe that they'd really rather be in a relationship with other than the people they're in a relationship with? But it won't be you because you're no longer an option. So, what's coming up for some people who harness some more worldly, shadowy energy? And also, as some of you are moving forward, if you're not in a relationship, you are really shining bright in the world, and people see that you're really walking the talk, and you are who you say you are, and looking like a boss in the world, and attractive, maybe, and charming, and stable, and grounded. That there's going to be, there's going to be shadowy people who want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you, and you will get to know them and you'll listen to your intuition about, nope, I got to move away from you. And I think you'll have more high vibe people come into your life in addition to whoever is in your life that's working together with you in this way. And you and those people are going to go on this new journey, finding people who are more on the same page as you and leaving behind the people in your life who showed you they were not. What's coming up for the shadowy people that they don't see coming? The Seven of Wands, the Tower, the Six of Swords, the Five of Cups, the Eight of Swords, and the Four of Cups. Why? Because of the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Well, depending on how shadowy they are, the Seven of Wands is Leo energy. Again, some people are quite defensive, unwilling to see the truth about these things that manipulate them or these shadowy ways of being. They keep defending the tower, an unstable foundation. I refuse to see the truth. They keep thinking, no, I can keep moving forward with this way that I do things. But the way they go about things, it keeps not working out for them in the Five of Cups. And they kind of end up back up in a mental prison and people not really wanting to work with them, but they could keep not wanting to see the truth. Part of what they could do is when people do see the truth, they do take action more out of pride and ego instead of truth and love. And they get the idea, I know, I'll go find someone else who's sad and in a mental prison. And then I'll offer to get in a relationship with them. And I'll repeat this whole thing all over again. But they're not offering like truth and love. I'm unstable. I'm defensive. I want to feel better. You want to get in a relationship? Oh, are you sad in a mental prison? Perfect. I like being in a relationship with people like you. And I might be loving and encouraging, and I might have status and image, power, influence, money. And it'll all go okay until you start to take that cup of love within yourself and no longer interested in being in a relationship for more of these worldly reasons. And you want to do love. No, I don't do love. It's not the foundation I operate from. It's time for you to go. And then those people will be sad and be in a mental prison, but they'll take that cup of love and they'll move up here and do all that. And these people will be kind of confused again and mad, maybe. I wish people wouldn't look at life from a higher perspective. I wish people didn't have more hope and faith and belief in more than me, or making their life about me, or about these things of the world. I never make my life about anything else. But these other people, they get sad just making their life about that. I might be okay with it, but again, shadowy Five of Cups, like the Six of Cups, they harness a shadowy Scorpio energy. They don't do love anyway. So they're not missing an opportunity in love because they don't want to do love. They can be sad they're not in a relationship with people, but they don't really do love anyway because they live more from their mind and their heart. And they could be people who are always looking for other people to love them. And it's kind of about, how about you learning to fill your own cup emotionally? So you feel more stable and grounded and know how to fill your own cup. And then when you go out in the world, you have a cup of love to offer other people. They don't want to do that because shadowy energy can be, I'm fearful of giving of myself. I don't want to open up. What if I get hurt? I kind of give all those things to me. And I think other people should give their things to me. And they just don't have a clue, some of them. Okay, there you go, Leo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.